Back to the phones. Hello, Bob Sokoler, Louisville Real Estate Show, News Radio 840 WHAS. Hello.
Hey, Bob, this is John. I'm just now reviewing the purchase contract from my agent. I'm not happy with some of the language about the home inspection. I feel like I want more than 10 days to have the home I'm purchasing inspected. Can I get more like 25 days? My agent says the seller won't go for it. What can I do?
Okay, so there are a couple of things that we've got to talk about here.
Oh, yeah.
Let's start with changing the language itself on a purchase contract, a real estate contract that's been created not by real estate agents, but by attorneys. Chuck, advice?
Well, real estate agents and attorneys.
Well, I think this comes straight more from the attorneys.
The idea is that as a realtor, you are not an attorney. You are allowed to prepare contracts under certain circumstances for certain things, and that's why they prepare. That's why they have the fill-in-the-blank LAR contract. You can add things to it. But what he's asking about is just length of days. And
I know I get that, but I'm going to get to that in a sec. But in this day and age, we have what's called, do you know what OCR is?
Go ahead and tell me.
Optical character recognition.
Okay.
So you could run a contract through an OCR, which is just a scanner. And then
that's cool.
And then you can remove, add, edit, change anything that is in a PDF form that's normally sealed.
Yeah.
Just change it out.
As an agent, I would advise against doing
Not only
that.
would I advise against doing that, but I would advise accepting a contract where you notice that there have been changes.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing that as an attorney, you're always, when somebody sends you a contract, and let's say you send somebody out a document, then they send back their revisions, you send back your revisions, you'd best darn well make sure that what you're getting back is actually what you sent them.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah, and there are ways to do that. But that's something I would look at in the case of this OCR. You realize I keep monks in the back rooms to make all my copies. So
You've learned something though today.
I have learned something.
Yeah, OCR, optical character recognition. Check that out.
But it depends on what you're changing. If you're changing material stuff on that contract, I think if things go awry, the board will look dimly.
And other attorneys will look dimly.
And the court, because you have to remember the practically one of the first rules of the construction of contracts is that if there is any ambiguity, it is resolved against the person who wrote it. So if you go and make changes,
that's you.
So let's go back now to the original question that
just wants the change in the dates.
Right. But it fired off a question that I had a couple of months ago from somebody. So John, in this case, they typically in the Louisville area, the time or length of time for inspections is typically 10 to 14 days. Possession, if you want to hold on to your house as a seller, is typically 2 or 3 days at most if you'll get that granted by the buyer in the Louisville area. Southern Indiana, similar except post-possession, maybe a little bit longer.
I've noticed it lightening up a little bit lately.
Which way, going shorter or
longer?
5 years ago it was 14 days was standard.
Well, when I started it was a month, and you got into some of the outer counties, 30 days, day to deed is not unusual.
But these days, buyers don't want to let another person live in the home they've just purchased.
Exactly.
Beyond the fact that they are now paying mortgage rates, a mortgage on that house that someone else is now living in.
Keys at closing. You can
do. But that's what it seemed like for the last 3 years was keys at closing almost
all the time.
Every time.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing 2 and 3 days.
2 and 3 days, and then extended circumstances, 14 days. But the other reason that buyers don't want to do is what happens if the seller moves out and that there are damages done to the home. There are post-occupancy agreements, but sometimes collecting on those agreements could be very difficult unless it's created by Chuck Crosby.
Yeah, because mine are the perfect. Yeah.
Always the perfect. Yeah, go ahead.
One other thing, just real quick. It's imperative that once you get a contract, and I'm probably stealing some of the realtor's thunder, but get the inspections scheduled ASAP. I can't tell you how often we get the panicked call, I forgot to get my inspection scheduled. Can you do it tomorrow?
Well, that's why I've always wondered, because I've seen 7 and 10 days as normal.
Yeah. Well, sometimes in the summer, some of the smaller companies are booked pretty far out. Some of the larger companies, HomeTeam, little commercial for Brad's company, but they'll generally get in a lot faster. But particularly as the summer approaches, get the thing scheduled as soon as possible.
And that's why it's so important to have your agent have a good relationship with vendors or people on the other end so that you can have that quick call.
Though remember that the buyer has the option to choose
100%.
whomever that they want as a home inspector or a lender or a closing attorney. But I will tell you that if you choose somebody who's a single-man person who does the job by themselves, there is a problem if you schedule it and now they can't get to you, so they have to extend that time. You open the contract back up again, correct, Chuck?
Yeah.
And the seller could say no. And the other thing that I'm worried about, and this is another, I'm going to plug for you guys, but if it's a single person, nothing against single people doing their job, but when you get busy and you get too much work, something's got to, either you're going to turn it down or you're going to go faster and something could get missed.